right, Dina. How you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. I'm good. You ready to talk chickens?
I'm ready to talk chickens. Oh,
All
yes.
right, that's good. So I
Lots of
guess
chickens.
the first thing is, what made you get into the whole chicken thing anyway?
I guess basically because we moved here to Jersey, obviously, being from Staten Island, knowing you like my whole life.
Right.
We moved here and we knew like on Staten Island we never really could have them. And we had one of them, but we didn't have enough property. And over here, there's not really like that many rules and regulations about what you can have and what you can't have, as long as you have a decent amount of property. So once we moved here, the house that I have now is like a little over an acre, nothing crazy, but it is enough that like legally I can have them. So we always wanted the eggs, fresh eggs. If you've ever gone anywhere like upstate or Pennsylvania or whatever, you go to these like farms and people are raising chickens and you have fresh eggs. There is nothing like them. It's not
Well,
like
I'm going
going
to tell
to
you
the
something.
store.
I have never had fresh eggs. Number one. So.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I
No.
buy like those. I buy those EB eggs, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, the Eggland's best or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to definitely give it a try. I know, like if I buy organic foods, I definitely notice a difference.
Yes.
Organic
Yes.
food. Maybe I thought it was psychological, but I think I do notice a difference with that.
There
Uh,
there is. There
I,
is. But
I
even more so with people who are doing the kind of thing like we're doing, because we are directly, feeding them certain things. I'll get into that, maybe later if you want to know about all that.
yeah, right.
But it is what you feed them is what makes the eggs so good.
So
Things like that.
you decided one day, not one day, you decided you want chickens because you want fresh eggs. Was that really the thing that?
Yes, yes. It was
Just a
not
hobby
something that
also? Yeah.
Yeah, not something that we were going to get into this like whole thing and have as many as I have now. No, that was really never an intention, honestly.
I
But
got
we moved here, saw the house, saw that we got all this property in the backyard, and we were like, oh, we could just build a little coop over here and have some chickens. So like when we first moved here, it was actually like pretty quickly. I think we had gotten about maybe like a dozen, right? And we were like, all right, so we'll see how it goes. We didn't really know what we
Dozen
were doing.
chickens?
We didn't, a dozen chickens, yeah, we had
Wow.
gotten the first time,
Okay.
a dozen.
Okay.
And, we had to read up on it first, obviously, before even starting, because we get
Now,
them
did
in
you
there.
decide to get a dozen chickens thinking that each chicken's going to lay one egg and you have an easy dozen?
Well, sort of, yes. Yes.
I'm being a
So
little
it's
silly
like,
now,
all
but go
right.
ahead.
But not every chicken lays an egg every day, but that's other stuff. Like, well, maybe we'll have a few of these, interviews, and I can tell you, because there's a lot of
Right.
information, actually.
That's great, though.
But,
That's great, yeah. So how
because
do you go about getting you decide you want the chickens, the 12 chickens? Where do you go get chickens? Your local pet shop? How do you do that?
right. So that's another thing. Yeah. So you have to start look it up. Where are you going to get them from? How are you going to get them? So where we live in Jersey, there are actually, a lot of people who have like farms and things like that, or what's called a hatchery. And you can go to a hatchery and get your chickens. But the thing is too, which we have also learned because we didn't know when we first started,
Right.
is that not everybody knows what they're doing. Okay. So, you want to make sure that when you go get these chickens that you get females, not roosters. And like the first 12 that we got, I think almost half of them were roosters. So now we're not going to get any eggs,
Now, wait a minute. Now, there's a big difference between what a rooster looks like and a hen looks like. So did you buy
But not when
a
they're,
baby?
little hatchlings. When they're like
That's,
little chicks, you
that's
can't
what I
tell
was
the
getting.
difference. You got
That's
to
what I
be
was
like
getting.
a specialty person, that like does this for a living or whatever, has been doing it all their life, like being raised on a farm, and they know the difference. You and I, just looking at a chick, we would never know, Dave. Trust me.
Right. There's nothing funny going on under the tail that would tell us there's a difference between a rooster and a hen.
Yes, there is something. It's actually in the way that the feathers grow and in their wing that you see the pattern of the feather when they're chicks anyway. That lets you know if it is a rooster or a hen.
All right, that's a bit much.
So there you go. That's your first big piece of information there. Okay.
Right,
So that's
right.
one thing. But the other thing is that now you want to get chicks. So we move here. We want to get chicks. You can also order them, believe it or not.
Okay.
And they come in the mail. And you go to the post office and you pick them up.
That's crazy. Wow.
It is. So you go to the post office and they can come from other places, even like from the Midwest or something, or Pennsylvania, whatever it is. And they mail them to you, and they come in this box that has like a little heating pad thing at the bottom to keep them warm. And you go to the post office, and you literally hear them, like, like in the post office. It was hilarious. I said, I think that's my chicks.
Do you have to get, like, I know there's different, every animal has all these different breeds and whatnot. So, like, are you getting a certain breed of chicken for the eggs, or
Right.
it's like a common one?
So when we first started, we didn't exactly, like, we just kind of looked into it and just got like a bunch of different ones, like what you're saying, just different breeds. But we didn't really know about the breeds. So the first time was just like play around, like see what we're gonna do. Let's see if we get eggs. We get the chicks. We bring them home. You have to put them in a bin in the house where it's warm with like red lamps over them to keep them very, very warm at like almost 100 degrees.
Like the rotisserie chickens, like the rotisserie chickens?
Almost like a
I'm just trying to visualize this here. Go ahead.
So they do that. So you have these red lamps over them because they need to have their patties really be nice and hot. Okay. And so they're big enough that they can go outside. So that's why we would, we had done it like before the spring so that it would give those few weeks of doing it in the house where they're warm so that then it was warm enough outside that they could survive being out, you know?
Right. Let me just backtrack 1 second, Dina. How much do these chickens cost per chicken? I mean, is it expensive?
Oh, they're cheap. No, they're like a couple of dollars each. Not expensive at all. That's the cheapest part of actually doing the whole operation is buying the chickens. It's everything else because we have people that say to us they think it's so great that we're raising chickens. It's nice to get eggs for free. I said I could go buy every egg that they sell in Costco and for way cheaper than what I'm doing raising chickens myself. It is not cheap. That I will tell you. Okay. Not at all.
I get you.
So it's not about saving money. It's about having fresh eggs, you know, and then from there it became that, well, this is so good and everybody likes them. We were giving them out to our friends and family, and then we didn't have enough for ourselves. So we got more. And then people wanted them and, you know, wanted to buy them, so then we had to get more. So that's how it kind of evolved. Like, I'll go back to that, but that's kind of how it started, you know.
All right, so now you got these baby chicks in the house with the heat lamps on.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Waiting for them to get to be, I guess, a certain age or, I guess, you know, mature.
Yes,
right?
they have to be, like more than several weeks old, like I said. So, you know, you want to say the time of year that maybe they would go out where it's comfortable enough and not cold at night. You want to say is maybe like April, right? So the weeks before that, where they're in your house, is a little bit of a nightmare, I will say, because it is messy and smelly and dirty. Because when you first get the chicks, you know how a little chick is, right? You could just hold it in your hands like this little tiny, you know, cute little thing. Right. But they grow quickly. And as they grow, you know, you have them in this like big, like a bin, like almost like a storage bin, like if you were moving or something, right? But a really like a big one, big, long, rectangular one. And you got like pine shavings in the bottom. That's what most people use, or hay or something to have bedding for them. But, you know, they do, am I allowed to curse on this thing over here?
Yeah, why not?
You know, pee and shit and all that other kind of, you know, stuff.
Right,
and it's very messy, and they scratch it. You know, their, whatever you call their legs and feet, you know, talons, whatever how you call that. Their chicken feet. They scratch it, and they make such a mess that it creates, what I would say really is dust. Right. And the dust goes all over. It makes a massive mess. And plus, as they grow with their feathers and their feathers grow more, you get a certain smell off of the chicken. It's like dander and like that kind of thing, like off of the chick. So let's say you put them in a room. I have them downstairs, right? In this room with heat in the room with the red lamps on them to keep them warm in the bin with pine shavings, water, food, all that kind of stuff. When you would open the door, the smell that would hit you in the face, oh my God, you would die. But you have to do it because they're not ready to be outside. You will lose them all. You know,
but is that a first time? That's only like a one-time thing. Then after that, they're good to go.
Yes. So when you first get them and you bring them home, unless you get them at the time of year where you already have this whole operation going and you have the coops built, you have everything ready, and it's warm, then you can just go ahead and put them right out in there.
Right.
But generally, that's not the case. Also, because you can't put chicks with full-grown adult chickens either. there's really a thing called a pecking order, and it is real. You'll have bigger chickens pecking at the little chickens. Everyone's got to kind of be at the same size, otherwise they start fighting, and things like that.
That's where the expression came from, Dina. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I bet the expression came from what you just said, the pecking order.
I'm telling you, yes. Like a lot of these things, we actually figured it out as we went along because, we're like Staten Island people, we didn't have animals or farms. My husband's from Brooklyn,
right.
like we never had any of this. We're not farmers. So we kind of learned a lot, as we went along. And we did do a lot of reading up and watching like YouTube videos and things like that too, because we're just the average person doing this thing,
Yeah, it's great information you can get from YouTube and everything. It definitely is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, amazing.
So now these chickens, so like we're gonna continue. They get big enough now, and I guess did you buy a prefab coop from Amazon? Did you make a coop?
No, we did not. My husband built it himself from scratch, every piece of it.
Wow.
Yes. So the first thing, like I said, you take them home, you put them in the bin. You got to just keep taking care of them, and feeding them lots and lots of water. Chicks and chickens, anyway, even as they get older, they drink gallons and gallons of water. Without water, they will never survive. They could go without food, but they cannot go without water.
Now that I didn't know, the water thing. That's pretty interesting.
Oh, yes. They need a lot of water because out in the wintertime, like what we're in, they're all outside, obviously. Now I have a lot. I have like 140 chickens.
Really?
And yes, I have 140, which isn't really all that crazy. Some people have a lot more, but yeah, we have a lot. I think it's a lot for the average person anyway.
I had no idea you had 140 chickens.
Yeah, I have 140.
Do you have to count them? Do you have to count them to make sure they didn't get away? Because that could take hours.
I know. Even in the beginning, because we only had 12, we had named them, and then we started getting more and more, and we couldn't name them anymore because how would you know who's who? Because
let me just ask you this question. When you started out with the 12 and you have 140, you didn't go out and buy more chicks. Did you? How'd you get? Did you?
Oh yes, no, we did. Yeah, we did
okay.
because obviously you don't really need a rooster to get eggs. You only need the rooster to get chicks.
Okay.
And that's another whole thing. I know a lot of people don't understand that, but it is true. You don't need any roosters. People that have chickens and have large numbers of chickens. I'm talking like farm people who raise chickens and have like hundreds of them. They have lots of roosters because they're trying to protect their flock, and they need the rooster to protect the hens from predators and things like that. But the situation of what we're doing, we don't need a rooster. And the roosters can be like vicious and nasty. So all the ones that we had, actually, we got rid of because they were very difficult to deal with. You would try and like step into the coop, and the rooster would be like trying to attack my husband, and things like that. They could get a little crazy.
So when you get rid of the rooster, what are the options? You give it to somebody who needs a rooster, or you put it on the barbecue?
Yeah, we did that. We actually put it on like Craigslist and things like that because some people want them. We had 2 that were absolutely beautiful. So people wanted them. It's just to have them as like a show rooster because they actually have what's called as like a chicken show. Imagine. And people show up with their like bird cages with their roosters in them, to put them on show. But where they have them is at like local areas around here and like farms, and they have like a chicken show. And then you can go that day and buy things. They'll have like feed. They'll have like ornaments that you can put in your yard and like things like that,
Like a whole chicken festival, basically. A chicken festival like you're going to.
Like a chicken festival, yes.
All
we
right.
went a few times, but like the people were like a little too like backcountry for us, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, that must be interesting. That could be an interesting video. Yeah,
I'm like, I know I live in Jersey now and I have chickens, but I'm not exactly like that farm girl like everybody thinks I am.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, so going back to that, so you have these chicks and you start off with them and you get them big enough that they're healthy and good and could be outside. You feed them like crazy, you give them water like crazy. They grow very rapidly. They really do. They go from being this tiny little thing to actually getting to this middle stage where they're like ugly. That ugly duckling phase too. What that little phrase they say, that kind of really does apply because right in the middle, I feel like it's almost like the same thing with the kids. They go through like that little funky age, where they maybe go through puberty, whatever, and the kids look like a little funky, Well, it's the same thing with the chickens, They don't look so cute at that stage. But right after that is really when they're like ready and big enough that they can, go outside and be in a coop, but not in the coop with everybody else. So the first time that we did it, they went out because there were no other chickens. So they went from being in the house, and we took care of them and got them big enough, and it was warm enough outside to go out and be in the first coop that we made, but they were by themselves.
Right.
So that's the first time, like you said. But after that, you have to put them separately to be big enough that they match in size to the ones you already have before you can put them together. And you have to do that each time. Wow. So let's say every time you add more, there has to be that phase where they go out because they can't be in your house. You can't have, I mean, the next time, after we had gotten the first batch, it was like 12, right? And I think the second batch, we got maybe about 25. Wow. But the next time we got chickens, we got like 50.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So now you can't take these 50 little chicks and go put them with the other ones that you already had because they don't match in size. And there's that pecking order thing. And they really literally will peck them like on their back to a point that they'll make them bleed, and then they'll be like attacking them. It's the craziest thing, I'm telling you.
How long does it take them to get to adult size?
After that, let me think. So in the house, I want to say it has to be maybe 8 to 10 weeks, I want to say. Yeah, something like that inside. Now they're big enough.
That's not too
bad.
Bad.
So not too crazy, you know, but it's very messy, like I said. When it was done, I had to like really clean. There was a coating of dust all over everything. And the smell in the room is almost like worse than like if you had your dog and you gave him a bath and he really never dried and you left him in that room and you opened the door, that wet dog kind of smell. It's kind of like that, but different. But that type smell where you really, you know, you really get it when you walk in the room, you know. So we get them out. Now my husband built this small little like area, like a coop area, but it's really what they call a run. A run is where the chickens come out of their coop and they have a place to like run around and see, get bugs out of the grounds and all that, but it's a safe place for them because it is covered in chicken wire where predators and things can't get to them. Okay. So that's the first time. You know, we had a small little coop because there was only like 12 of them, and a small run because we didn't really know what we were going to do. We just knew that we were going to have it and we were going to have chickens and we're going to have fresh eggs every day and like that kind of thing. So now you put them out and you put them in the run and now the weather's okay and they can do their thing and they run around and all of that. And you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. But it takes probably about another 3 months before you really start to see eggs. I want to say it's about a good 6 months before you get any eggs. Okay. And then you see, you know, they just kind of start and you go out there and check on them and give them water and feed and all this. And you're like, oh, there's the egg, you know, it's just like on the ground, like in there. And the first one, that first time that you get an egg like from the chicken is like, I don't know, it's so exciting. It's
yeah. Now, how many eggs does each chicken potentially lay?
Each chicken will almost lay an egg every day, but not every single day. There are different breeds. There's other factors that come into it. We can talk about all that, you know, over a few sessions and stuff like that. Right. So it's like there'll be this breed of chicken that they say, oh, you get an egg every day. But if something is going on, if they're like nervous, if it's cold weather, if there's situations, you know, and things, you know, sometimes they just like shut down, or maybe there's like tension between two chickens or whatever. They won't lay. There's like all these little things, like it's almost like they need a therapist, the chickens, you know, because if certain little things go on, they won't lay the egg, you know. If they don't have enough water, they won't lay the egg. It's like really crazy. But predominantly it would be like, you know, almost an egg every day from each chicken. And then depending on the situation, like now being winter, they definitely don't all lay. So I have like 100 and something chickens, like I'm saying, and I may be getting like 50 eggs.
So when it's warmer out, they lay more eggs than when it's cold?
Much more, yes, much more. You know,
and I guess that would have to coincide with the fact that the chicks wouldn't survive in the winter, so that makes sense, right? Exactly. Yeah.
And also the fact, too, that there's always like that longer and shorter day, because, you know, in the winter it gets dark early already at like, you know, 4:30, it's already starting.
Right,
so chickens have a pattern with that also. They don't, once they don't have daylight hours, they don't lay either. So then people do all kinds of things too. They try to trick them and they put lights in the coop to make them think that instead of it being like 6 a.m. and it's light out, they have the lights come on at 4 a.m. so that it's a longer day to do that. But we don't do that to them. I just feel like that's like a bit cruel, you know, like you're actually going to be killing your chickens off sooner because the more they do and the more they're laying. I mean, a chicken's life isn't all that long. I want to say like several years. As a matter of fact, I should say already that we're living here in Jersey, like 4 years, right? October was 4 years. And we started it like very soon after we moved here. So we still have some of our original chickens. So those are just about 3.5 to 4 years old. And like after that, maybe like 5 or 6 years, either they don't live or they don't lay. You know, or one or the other or both, because they don't have a very long lifespan and they only lay like so many eggs in their lifespan. You know, it gets to be that it's at a point that they maybe just won't even lay anymore. You know, that kind of thing. Or sometimes they shut down for a while, especially during the winter months if they've already been a few years old, like my original ones. And we know what those eggs are. So if you want to ask me that, people will say, well, how do you know which egg is coming from which chicken? Well, a lot of them I really don't, because we have 10 of this kind of chicken. I have 12 of this kind of chicken. I have, you know, so many of so many kinds. But my original ones, I know. And we know what kind of eggs we get from them, because you can get brown, you can get...
I was going to ask you why. I was going to ask you about the different color eggs. And so the different color eggs are just because the chickens are a different breed? Is that why they're different colors, brown and white?
Mostly it's that, yeah. Most of them are the breed lays a certain color egg. But not always. I can have a chicken that lays a brown egg, and the next day it'll lay a green egg. It's like the craziest thing, you know. But we know our original eggs, what we had, and we know like just how they look. And we'll get that certain egg and we're like, oh, that egg is from Butters. You know, because like I said, our original ones, we named them. One of our chickens is Butters, you know, and we see this white egg and we just know that it was from her because we didn't have any white eggs. So I'm like, well, where'd that egg come from? So we knew it was from her, you know, things like that. But, yeah, it's a whole crazy process. I swear. I probably really could talk about it for like hours. Because there's so many little things that come up that we had no idea what we were getting into when we first did it at all.
Well, now let me just get back to the store. What do they do to the store eggs? Do they do anything to the store eggs compared to the eggs you have coming from the chickens? Do they pasteurize them? Do they add chemicals to the store eggs?
They do. They don't really add like stuff to them, but it's how they handle them and how they wash them. They do things like bleach washing and stuff like that. So that's why every egg looks absolutely perfect and all of that. Whereas you'll see my eggs and they're not. We try and just use like a rough, like a scrubby type little thing just to get whatever little dirt and poop and things like that are on there off. Right. Because you don't really want to be washing the eggs, because when the chicken does lay the egg, and you'll know it. You'll actually feel it, especially if you get it right after they lay the egg. There were times I go out there, and when I open up what's called the nesting box, because you have the coop, and on the coop, which could be whatever. I mean, my husband built it out of like, you know, wood and like press board, you know, type thing. You make a hole in it because they need to be able to get in and out. We have actually what's called like these little like chicken ladders, you know. So it's like a board. It's like a board that he put little pieces, like little strips of wood. So it makes like steps on the flat board.
Yeah, I know what that looks like. Yeah.
Up, right?
Right.
So it's like a flat board that goes from the ground up to the coop, and it makes like rungs, you know, like on it, you know, but it's like little strips, and they can walk up and get in and out of the coop, and they do it all day. Chickens are very active. They never stop moving. Back and forth, up and down, in and out of the coop, you know, going all around. We also have being that I'm in the woods here, I mean, I got tree limbs like you can't imagine. I don't even have to really buy wood too often to make a fire because I got tons here. So we chopped some of them and we made like roosts for them in there, little perches and things like that all over, and cut. You take like some like big tree log and you cut it and make like a stump, and they like to sit on top of that and like all kinds of things. It's all like chicken toys or whatever, how you want to say, you know. that
I
kind of
was going
thing.
to ask you real quick, Dina, when you talk about the chicken on the stump and everything. So do they don't really fly, but they can kind of get up to a certain height, I would imagine, right?
But they do, they do fly, because sometimes, like, if they're on one end of the coop and they see that I'm coming in there and I'm throwing something, maybe some seeds or something like that on the ground, they will fly right over, like you can't believe, to get to that spot where I just threw maybe strawberries or, whatever. They know when you're coming. As a
So
matter of fact, they know when I'm coming because I come out.
is it fenced in? Like, do you have like a fence that they can not fly over, or they can get out if they
Oh
want
yes, totally encased. Yes, yes. The coop is inside a run, like I was explaining before, with chicken wire. So there's wire, and then there's chicken wire. So you could build it, but some wiring is heavier than others, and the one that is the heaviest is called the hard cloth, and that's really what you need because the animals really can't get through that. It's so strong that. And I know it has to work because we've never had anything. And I get fox and all kinds of stuff in my yard, and nothing has ever gotten into those chicken coops. So you build it first with like 2x4 posts and things like that, and you put this chicken wire around it. And then over that, you put this other wire called hard cloth, and that really encases the whole thing, top, bottom, sides, everything. And
So wait, so your
take
chickens in the backyard have an enclosed backyard structure made out of chicken wire, so they can't fly out the top of it, like it's like a tent.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. But they have gates on them, like we have doors on them, so we can
right,
open
right,
it and let them out. So they can
yeah,
come out and feed on the grass and like things like that, a little at a time, and then we could put them back in, that
okay.
kind of thing. But it isn't open, at any point fully, because otherwise anything, like even an owl could just fly right in there and get them and take them, And I got
Right.
hawks like you can't imagine over here. So, anything could just go in and get them. So they have to be protected. And not only is it protected on the top, but it is also that the wiring goes down into the ground more than a foot. You have
Right.
to dig a trench and you have to put the wiring down into the ground and then put the ground back over it.
Right.
And then also, after you do that, after you put the wiring down in the ground, then you have to put the wiring across the ground leading up to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's around the whole perimeter, all around the sides, top and bottom, and then down in the ground, and then wiring across the top of the ground up to the sides so that nothing can get in. It took a lot of work and a lot of time, and it was expensive also because all the material for it is expensive. But it's worth it because if you're going to have it, you need to do it the right way or you're going to lose all your chickens.
Right. This is definitely a lot more involved than I even imagined. So it's
Yes.
really
And nobody could believe it. When they, found out, like when my husband did, and they're like, oh, did somebody come over and like build that in your yard? I'm like, no, my husband did it. And they're like, oh, did you buy it like on Amazon? I'm like, no, my husband built it. And they're like, oh, well, how long did it take? Like, a couple of days? I'm like, no, weeks. It's a big thing, especially once we decided to expand because, like I said, from the first one that we got, we only had like 12. So we had this small little, coop that was maybe we thought was enough for them because the other thing too is everybody thinks they need tons of space. They don't really need tons of space because when the chickens go in the coop at night to roost and sleep and all that, they all huddle together. They want to be nice and warm. They like to be next to each other. They actually even spread their wings and like almost put them around each other and like hug each other. It's the cutest thing.
Wow. Wow.
So.
How often do you have to clean and maintain? Is it a daily thing you have to go out every day and cause it?
Somewhat, yes, somewhat. That goes back to even what you said about the eggs before, because if you don't keep your coop clean, if you don't keep your nesting boxes clean, you really have like nasty eggs, and then you really can't be washing them because you're not supposed to do that because, what I was telling you earlier, when the chicken lays the egg, and if you go out there and get it, when it happens, you will literally feel the coating on the egg. It's called the bloom. And that bloom protects the egg. Because the eggshell is very porous. So, that protects the egg inside from bacteria, and things like that. So if you wash it, you're actually taking the bloom off.
Right.
And that's what happens with a lot of like store-bought eggs. They are washing them in like bleach wash. They put other things in them to really make them look so shiny and perfect Whereas you'll get a box of my eggs and you'll see little marks and stuff on them where I just kind of took a little scrubby thing and tried to get the hard pieces of it off and things. And then when people buy them from me and stuff, or I give them to people, they just wash them before they crack them so that they're, clean right then, but they're going to use them right then. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So what's the time frame when the chicken lays the egg, to when it could possibly go bad? So like if the chicken lays the egg, you collect it, wash it. I guess you have to refrigerate it, right, as soon as possible.
No,
Go ahead.
no, you do not. I know people don't believe that either, but
Right.
you don't. As long as, you get your eggs, you get them from the nesting box, which in the nesting box and the coop, there are several things that go in there besides lots of pine shavings, maybe leaves, hay, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that it keeps the floor of the coop itself and the nesting box all clean, and it gives them a place to sit and lay their eggs. They also like a very small space to go in to lay their eggs, believe it or not. So the coop is like this big box. I want to say that there may be the size at least maybe a good 5 by 5, maybe was our first one, so 5 feet high, 5 feet wide, 5 feet deep, right? Like that. The next one we did, was a little bit bigger, maybe taller anyway. Yeah, maybe 6 feet or so, 6 by 4, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had gotten these other birds, and then we decided not to keep them. I'll tell you about those. So as this went on, and we were getting chickens and liking the eggs, and everybody was liking them, my husband went crazy and built 3 more coops. Okay? Wow. So now I have 4 of them in my yard, and they're all encased in these hard cloth chicken wire runs.
Right.
So that they have a place to come out of the coop and run around and nothing could get to them and nothing could attack them and, all that kind of thing. If we want to let them out, there's doors on them that we can open and let them out. We also have doors on them within the actual run itself that you can lift up and open and throw stuff in. We throw them a lot of, vegetables and fruit and all that kind of stuff. And you can just kind of throw it in there and, they go crazy. They love that. But you have to have doors to it also because you have to go in and give them their water and their feed, every day also. Even the water sometimes more than once a day, especially in the winter when it freezes over. Then you got to pour hot water on it to melt it so that they have water for the day.
So you have a electrical heater, or it's too far out from the house?
We do. Yeah, we ran extension cords and that kind of thing. We also did a water feeder thing too that my husband kind of rigged up. It's part of something else. It's like this water feeder that goes to something else. But he took hoses and attached hoses, I think 3 of them, to the spout from where my house comes, where it comes to my house. Mm-hmm. And it goes out to this water feeder, but you can only do that in the warm weather months. You can't do that now because the hose would freeze over, Right. So then you have to do it manually, which means you got to fill buckets of water every day. So he's out there at 5 in the morning, with hot water, going out there pouring it on all the water buckets to melt the water that froze overnight so that they have water every day.
Are you familiar with, I use it on the pond. It's called a pond de-icer, but they also use it for cows and whatnot. It just doesn't heat up the water, but it just keeps it from freezing. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, well, we have that also. So we have those with cinder blocks, right? Mm-hmm. And that thing is on that, on or in between, I guess I should say, the cinder blocks. And then we have their actual water feeders that sit on top of that so that it's enough warmth from underneath it, right, to make it that the water doesn't freeze in there. Yes.
And
we have that also. But we have quite a few chickens and we need water in several spots. So we have 3 of those, what you're talking about, where it's heated,
right.
And it keeps those 3 from freezing over. But then we have actual water bowls, 2 over here, 2 over there, 2 over here. We have them all scattered around, and those are the ones that he pours the hot water over, just so that they have extra. Because what happens is sometimes they get a little crazy, who starts fighting and who wants to get to the water, and they might knock something over. Now, once they knock that over, now all the water is gone. So you have to have it in several spots. If they can't get water from A, they go to B. If they can't get it from B, they go to C, and so on.
Right.
To make sure that they get it, So,
just getting back to the egg question,
yes.
like what's the time frame for the eggs to go bad? Like if the chicken had an
Right,
egg and
that's
you
what I
didn't
was
cook
going
it
to
for a
say.
week,
So,
yeah.
so, so you go out there, right, and you get the eggs, you bring them in, and you just kind of make sure they're clean enough. And we have like egg holders or cartons, whatever, how you want to store them. Some people just put them in baskets, depending on what their situation is. If they're for themselves and family, they give them away, they sell them, whatever it may be. As long as you haven't washed them like that and taken the bloom off, they don't need to go in the refrigerator. You can keep them on your counter for a month, and they stay
Really?
fresh. No problem. Yes.
That's
But
the answer
once
to
you
the question.
have
That's pretty.
refrigerated eggs,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to take them out and leave them really on the counter like that because they're cold and they start to sweat, and that's
Right.
when, bacteria can form. I mean, you can do that a couple of hours. Let's say, like today we say with baking, you want to have room temperature eggs. So people who have their eggs in the fridge, which is most people because they buy them from the store and they bought them cold, they go home and they put them back in the refrigerator.
Right.
So they could take them out maybe like 2 hours ahead of time if they know they're going to bake something to let them get to room temp and then they'll use them. But like a situation like ours, most of the eggs are not refrigerated unless I really have an abundance of them, which is more like spring and summertime and going into fall where they're really high laying, like almost every chicken is laying an egg every day. So if I had 140, which I might actually have a little less now because we did lose a few chickens, so maybe 130, 135, I'll probably get about 100 eggs out of that, So now maybe I don't have, somebody who wants every day or who I'm not giving to every day. So if I start to, box those up, I'll put them in the refrigerator. But now those have to stay in the refrigerator because they've already been cold. And those eggs, if you put them in the fridge, they last about 6 months.
Okay. And I guess you have to mark the dates on there. That's a long time.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So this way like when you box them. But I will honestly say this, at this point, we really don't even do that so much anymore because they all go. Like I don't have this like pile of eggs that's sitting around that nobody wants. They lay the eggs and they're gone, which I'm really glad about because I'm glad everybody likes them. They see what we're doing. They see how much effort we're putting into them and what we feed them. Or like we don't give them like cheap feed. They're getting like really good chicken feed, organic vegetables and fruit and things like that. They eat kale and spinach, carrots.
And that helps the taste of the eggs you were telling me earlier, right? Basically.
It does. It really makes the egg like, very nutritious, that kind of thing, and really just fresh tasting because there is no other added thing. They're also not chickens that are injected with hormones and stuff like that because that's what they're doing too now. They want the eggs to be these big jumbo eggs, so they like inject hormones. They're also doing it for the chickens themselves because, you go to the store now and you buy chicken. Chicken meat itself even doesn't even look like what it looked like 20 years ago because they're injecting them with all this stuff so that they get like, when you buy chicken breast is not supposed to be this huge, monstrous thing. It's supposed to be small and like tender. But they want it to be this big thing now, so they do all this stuff to them, which I don't buy any of that because it just isn't the same. And just like the egg doesn't taste the same either, So we don't do anything like that. We're really doing it like the way people did it 50 years ago. Just have some chickens, throw them their feed that they need to have, lots of water, fruits and vegetables and things like that, and you get the eggs. And the eggs are just so delicious. The next time I come to Staten Island, I have to bring this up.
How many eggs are you producing? You told me before, was it 140 a month, a week? Well, how many eggs are you producing?
That would be like a day, So if I have like 140 chickens, right, and they're all laying, it's like April, May, June. It's warm, it's beautiful, it's sunny out. There's lots of daylight hours and all that. I'll get like 100 a day.
Wow.
80, 90 a day, every day, and not like a week or whatever, a day. Yeah.
And how much do you sell them for, and where do you bring them? Like to the local Jersey market?
Yeah, I have. I do sometimes. I started that I was going to do that with like market things, but I have so many people because the word of mouth. You know how that is.
Right.
You tell somebody, and that person tells somebody, and all that kind of thing. But they really were just going, and I'm finding out how many people really eat eggs, like a lot of eggs, and especially during the pandemic. When it was hard and you're trying to go to the grocery store and the shelves weren't stocked, the shelves are still not stocked like that. People were really going back to, and I found that during that time, a lot of other people actually started doing it. They were like, well, I'm going to build a coop and I'm going to have chickens and I'm going to get a pig and I'm going to get cows and I'm going to do this,
Right, because they were bored and they were stuck in the house, right? Yeah.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't know what to do with themselves, and they started thinking like, you know, if this world really comes to an end like this, I got to be able to feed myself. I got to be able to, you know, get my own things. And not only do we do the thing with the chickens, but we have a massive garden also. We have a lot of stuff that we grow also. And with that, anything that I'm doing, let's say like lettuce and stuff like that I'm cutting up and you trim, anything I'm growing from myself has no pesticides or anything on it. So it's all fine to give them. That is organic because there's nothing on it. We feed all of that to the chickens as well, anything that I grow, you know.
So how much do you sell the eggs for? Like, I'm sure it's more than a dozen. Like, how's your pricing with the eggs?
They're $5 a dozen, which, you know, for the type, you know, what we're doing, the kind of eggs being organic and all, and what we're feeding them is actually a really fair price. Because if you go to the supermarket, they're somewhere between like $7 and $9 a dozen, which is crazy.
So do you sell them directly, or do you sell them to somebody else who sells them for more?
No, I sell them directly.
And you're able to do that. How do you do that?
Yes, yes. I actually have so many people that they'll just be texting me and be like, okay, I need like 4 dozen, you know, whenever you have time, can you get me 6 dozen? You know, I mean, and I'm telling you, like 4 and 6 dozen that people order. And it'll be like a week and a half to 2 weeks later maybe, and they're getting the same thing. And then I have people who are on a regular schedule, who get every Friday, who get every Thursday, who get every other Friday, who get every other Wednesday. You know, they have like an order, a standing order that I just bring it to them no matter what. I don't have to text and say, do you want them or, you know, whatever. They just do it.
That's always the best way. Yeah, that's always the best way. It's a lot less work for everybody. I mean, so are you turning
and I do deliver them too, actually.
Yeah, are you turning a profit with the eggs? Or are you just barely breaking even, or what would you say? How that?
Well, I would say this time of year there's no profit. No, because not really. I mean, maybe very small. Because of everything that you're doing, you know, you're still feeding them the same. You're still giving them all the same fruits and vegetables and the feed and the hours that you're putting into it. Though my husband's out there at 5 in the morning to give them water because the water froze overnight and all this stuff, you know. And then all the pine shavings for the bedding to keep it clean, the hay, so that the coops don't really smell so bad and all that. You have to use like a natural deodorizer, diatomaceous earth, and all that kind of stuff to keep everything clean and smelling good. It's also for them too, because their feathers, they need to like do dust baths and things like that. They dig holes in the ground also, and they make like these little bath holes. And they go in and they flap their feathers around and they get all dirt and everything in between their feathers to keep bugs away, mites and things like that, you know.
Right. I was looking at a lot of videos. I was trying to do my research to say I was doing a lot of research on the YouTube. It's pretty interesting stuff. Let me ask you, so we can wrap it up in a few minutes here. But just real quick, how about like veterinarian bills or care for them?
No, we don't have anything like that. No.
So that's
So far we haven't had anything like any kind of like health issue that we would have been required to have to like do that. Like I said, it's a natural thing, right? I got chickens and they're in my yard. There's been a couple of times you go out and you just find one in the coop laying there and it's gone already, you know. So it is what it is, you know. It's a natural thing, and they only live so long. Some of them, some breeds live longer than others, you know. But nothing like that. There's been 1 or 2 times that we noticed something where like it's I don't have to call it a claw or a talon. I forget how you call it with the chicken, but it was curled. And that's a common thing that happens. And then we take that chicken and we separate it from the rest. We have an area that if something was like to happen like that they could be by themselves, the original area that we had when we had the first 12 chickens. We
quarantine area.
Quarantine, exactly.
6 feet apart, little chicken mass maybe over the beak perhaps. That sounds good.
You know, right. We have that. Seriously. Funny. So, and we put it in there by itself so that nobody could bother it. And also, like I was saying earlier, with the pecking order, sometimes, you know, that one chicken might be a little smaller than the others, and then they all pick on it, you know, and they start pecking its back and it's bleeding. And once they see blood, they will not stop. They will just keep pecking at it like crazy. That's
so you're saying that the chickens, the hens, the sight of blood gets them excited. Did you ever think about maybe treating the hens to a field trip, maybe to a cockfight?
Maybe. I don't
Maybe
know
that was
about
super
that.
entertaining. It sounds like that might be the kind of thing that they would enjoy.
I know. Yeah, they get a little crazy with it. I
Yeah,
have to
get them
say.
on a little back of a van, maybe, get them on that little ladder thing in the back of the van, like they're all going to
Well,
Atlantic City with their little purses, and they take them to a nice cockfight.
when I had the roosters, we did think about that. We said, I could have a whole little thing here right in my backyard. Add a few more animals, get some goats, get some pigs, and have like a little petting zoo with cockfights. Don't think that we didn't think of it because we did.
Wow. All right. Because yeah, right. Whatever works.
I'm
So,
telling you. Yes.
yeah. So Dina, this has been very interesting, much more
Oh, thank you.
interesting and much more informative than I could imagine. I had no idea you had so
Oh, I
many.
have lots
First of
more.
all,
If you want to do it
yeah,
again and you want to have another session, I'll be ready for you. Don't you worry. I have
yeah.
lots of things I can tell you.
Let me see. Like I said, maybe we'll get some feedback, and I'm not sure how this is going to.
Okay.
I'll definitely keep you posted with all whatever this comes of this. But yeah,
Okay.
we'll definitely talk soon, and perhaps there'll be other topics to talk about in the future too.
Sure, absolutely. Anytime. You
All
know me,
right,
I'm
Dina.
good at talking, okay?
Be well. We'll be in touch. Okay.
Yes. Okay, Dave. All right.
Take care
Take it
now.
easy, okay?
All right. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.